What is something someone said to you that hit you the hardest?
La Trouble says if anyone in this thread needs to reach out to talk with someone, please see some of the resources below. There's Arsusaduach where well-meaning and sympathetic people will try and help, but be aware they aren't trained. The Befrienders website is a global list of local suicide help charities. Use it to find an organization in your country. You should be able to call or email them for free and they'll speak to you and try and help you without being judgmental.
Equalf says my dad was describing me to a therapist and said she is full of quit.
BibXRA says 10th grade teacher pulled me to the side as I was enter the class and told me walk with your head up. Don't think he knows how much that helped me.
Soligrip says if it's between saving 00 or going to that movie or concert or festival you've always wanted to go to, just go. A year from now you won't remember where that 00 went but you'll sure as hell remember that memory you made with it. IDK his exact name but he's a comedian and his name is Josh. So there to add another. Did you have a bad day or did you have a bad 5 minutes you held on to for the rest of the day?
Professor Walland says she'd be proud of the man you were. My great uncle said it to me after I delivered my grandmother's eulogy. I collapsed.
The rotor says you just feel like a chore now.
ScalpUp22 says my mom telling me that my dad is an awful man who abandoned us. She did the same thing years later.
Kaladar Scoop says we broke up because of you.
Tublayive says not said directly to me but I overheard some guys on my track team talking shit about me. They didn't know I was standing there. They weren't even friends of mine, but I was doing very well on the team that year and earned a spot on the varsity team which is something that had never happened to me before. These guys were saying I didn't deserve to be there, and that really screwed me up, as I'm a pretty shy, quiet guy and usually don't elicit that kind of reaction out of people.
Some swimming dude says it doesn't matter if you hit a home run or strike out. I'll always be your #1 fan my grandpa when I was going through a very rough time. 7Keen25 says my father prayed I would have a terrible child, and I think it's you I was 11 years old.
Quirky Pineapple says my mom once told me when I was a teenager that it took a lot of courage to take your own life, and you could do a lot with that courage instead of killing yourself.
Now I didn't ask but says my mother once told me I think you've been miserable your entire life. In regards to my depression, it may sound like a horrible thing to hear, but she was not trying to upset me. She was basically saying, you've done everything you can by yourself to try to get out of this depression, but I think it's always been there, so you need help.
Random Hero 95 says you can be the sweetest peach on the peach tree, but not everyone likes peaches.
Miss List 12 says I'm so proud of you said to me by my swim coach after I came in last, 5 minutes after everybody else. I realized then that nobody had ever been proud of me before for something I didn't succeed in. Everybody shows pride when you succeed. When you give your best and come up short anyway, having someone still be proud of your effort means the absolute world.
Kraker says I wish you could just stop caring what he says. My dad, after I got the umpteenth emotionally manipulative text from my abusive ex-husband, this was over 2 years after our divorce was finalized. My dad doesn't say much on an emotional level. So when he does say something, I know it has deep meaning. I went no contact with my ex, and remain so to this day. And I'm a much happier and more serene person for it.
If it's Monster says yesterday is heavy, put it down.
Mr. Killam says my team sergeant was killed in front of me by an IED on my last deployment. He was a mentor of mine and we were particularly close. After we put him on the helicopter, the team commander pulled me aside and told me that this isn't the last time this is going to happen. For what it's worth, he thought you were a good NCO. It was hard enough seeing him go, but somehow him thinking that I was good, that he thought I would be alright, made it hurt more. I still miss him. Edit. Fixed a typo.
Dr. Pasha says me, I don't feel brave. I feel scared. My husband, being scared and doing it anyway, I AskReddit that I needed it. He's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Fictional Napa says no one wants to be around someone who's sad and blames others all the time. Grunted. I was in high school and trying to get attention and some girl said it to me after I was doing my whole nice guy rant. After that I took it upon myself to change and haven't fallen back into that mindset since. Edit should clarify. The girl who told me this was someone I had a lot of classes with and we knew one another fairly well. I was being a nice guy in the sense of trying to be manipulative by trying to get sympathy from them. I thankfully saw how I was acting and did a complete 180 degrees once I realized it. It's been about 15 years and I'm in my 30s now and have been a lot happier and am happily married to a wonderful woman.
XD Hotdog replies, good for you. Woodburner 25 says, after the birth of my first child at age 17, my aunt told me, this is your responsibility. This child didn't ask to be here. Didn't ask for you as a mother. Didn't ask for him as a father. It's going to be hard, but it's not his fault he is here. Really made me step up and try my hardest to be a good mother. I hear her voice every time I see a news story about child abuse or neglect.
Impast has 309 says, I love you. My grandma always believed in showing love, not saying it. She believed actions spoke louder than words. 4 days before she passed away, she told me she loved me. I was shocked at this, but I told her I loved her too. It was so unlike her. I now realize that maybe she said it because, with how weak she was due to the sickness, she felt like she couldn't show it. I don't know. Maybe I'll never know. But that was when I knew that she didn't have much time left.
XD Hotdog replies, beautiful.
ERH 21138 says, uncle committed suicide when I was a little kid. When I asked my mom how he died, she said he was depressed. I asked, depression can kill someone? She said it can if you're sad enough. Here I am about 20 years later.
I hate Stuart Little says, I've always had trouble expressing my emotions. Because of this, a couple months ago my friends called me an asshole who lacks any and all empathy. That stung quite a bit. Veckles 2 says, a coworker once told me all stress is relative. You have no right to undermine what someone else is going through. No matter how small compared to your stress, I think about it a lot. He was so right. I was young and being an asshole.
Burn 147,852 says, last time I saw one of my friends, he told me catch you on the flip side. He hung himself a week later.
Her Ted mention Ryan says, you have an energy I've always found challenging, by way of saying I don't wanna talk to you anymore, felt like out of the blue, was meant to be kind, I think. Fucking ouch.
Lemon 87 says, there's nothing that you can do that will ever make me want you. My mom. So I did what I could to make me want myself.
Biff64GC says, I'm proud of you and your brother. From my dad. He grew up with a conservative, religious, military household. Old school mentality of dad works and only is involved in family when it's time to discipline. I was always shy and depressed and hated disappointing him, and it came to a point when I started driving and got my car stuck in snow that I didn't want to tell him about it. When my mom told him, she made it clear his kids were afraid of him and he realized he had become his dad, which he hated. The change has been extreme. From a strict, work yourself to death, hard ass to a family guy. Told me on my wedding day that he was proud of me and my brother, because he never heard it from his dad.
Mrs_Chen_Bung_ says, I've lived a good life. I'm ready to go. My grandma, who is still physically and mentally healthy. I just wasn't ready for it.
Unfortunately, he says you are not good enough. That hurt the lot as child. And now whenever PPL by action or subtly say that I am not XYZ, it hurts. Makes me feel like an afterthought, like I will always come second and no matter what I do I will fail.
Roger Berryu says, not me, but a friend of mine was smoking on a break at work and a woman did the whole why smoke? Smoking's bad thing, and he said he just didn't have a good reason to quit. To which she said, son, there are people you haven't even met yet who are going to need you here. I never forgot it. I quit just a month or so after that, and I remember it whenever I'm about to do something stupid so daily.
Afalaha says, one day, you'll wake up next to the ugly girl you're dating and you'll shame our family.
KiwiHead 777 says, this happened when I was either 6 or 7. Mom, why are you always hugging me? Me. 'Cause you're my mom, bang mom, yeah, or you just want to feel my breasts. 20 years later and that still bothers me. 'cause that was the first time I ever felt ashamed dirty, but I couldn't understand why.
The real DM Vagabond says never make fun of someone's laugh because they will be self-conscious about being happy. Waking up to gold is a beautiful thing, thanks.
One and Done 169 says never look for happiness in the same place you lost it at it. To the person who gave me platinum, thank you. Bang at it too. Thank you for gold.
Al Nevermind 11 says nothing is enough for you, never. My father said it so desperately, like he was asking me to stop doing something I never understood he meant. I truly felt so guilty for everything that happened in my family after that, but when he said it I finally understood that my mind and soul was so full of anxiety that I never saw what I had but what I lacked.
XD Hotdog replies, yeah, I often do this. I feel like I'm trying not to look at what I am lacking.
Hooligan Unicorn says when I was a little girl, I adored my dad, followed him everywhere, wanted to do everything he did, and I sure tried. He was never great at saying how he felt, but I always remember saying, I love you, Daddy, and he always replied, I love you, daughter. When I was a preteen, he had no idea what to do with me, and backed off hard. I was super awkward as a preteen teenager, and our relationship was super rocky. We had a lot of hurtful exchanges, and I spent as little time at home as I could. In the summer of 2007, I wrote him a letter, telling him that the way he distanced himself from me was hurtful, and that I didn't know how to deal with the harshness of our current relationship, but that I still loved him and wanted to try and move past our painful interactions and rebuild our relationship. He never responded to most of it, but told me he was sorry, and wanted to fix things. That winter, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. I moved home and took over household things, helping deal with doctors, physical therapists, and eventually hospice. My mom was, understandably, a mess, and I tried hard to hold it together for them. Things were getting bad. He was fading hard. One night I went in to say goodnight to him, and in a wave of nostalgia, I said, I love you, Daddy. He hadn't spoken all day, his throat was dry, he was on massive doses of morphine, but he still whispered back to me, I love you, daughter. He slipped into a coma that night, and never spoke another word. Edit. Wow, thank you for the platinum, but especially thank you everyone for all the kind words and understanding. To everyone who is going through this, or feels this pain, you're not alone. Purple Heart. Edit 2. Thanks for all the awards and karma.
Itaka Soil says you're going to have to do it sometime, might as well do it now. My dad told me that in middle school after I was complaining about homework, and I've lived by it ever since.
Ray Maker says I was at an interview recently and there was a young man about my age who turned to me and said, hey, bro, can you help me tie this necktie? I didn't have a dad to teach me growing up, so I still don't know how to do it. That really struck a heartstring with me. The fact that this man I barely even knew felt confident revealing something so vulnerable made me instantly respect him. It was strange, but I got the impression that he was someone I could be good friends with. We both got hired. I look forward to working with him soon. Edit. Many of you were wondering why he didn't Google how to tie his necktie. This was a law enforcement oral board exam psychological interview we were both attending. The academy instructors had pulled us from the auditorium where they were keeping all the recruit candidates so we could get fitted for our BDUs, point gear and polos. As such, we were told to leave all our belongings except the suits on our backs. No phones are allowed in that part of the academy anyway. Hope you enjoyed. Throwaway Canadian 19 says he has about 6 months to live.
Tweak 0 says I think most of the things that have hit me the hardest is just finding out people close to me weren't the people I thought they were. So finding out the truth wrecked me hard.
No Churdangus says my school friends used to refer to me as the friend who eats everyone's food and the one who's gonna be forever alone. I left school 5 years ago and I still struggle eating around people and believing compliments. Edit. I did not expect so many nice responses, and I'm gonna take everyone up on their offers of food. Whilst what I said is sad F, I am a lot better than what I was. A lot of those friends I grew apart from, and I'm dating someone who never pressures me into believing his compliments, only accepting that he thinks so regardless of my own thoughts. XD Hotdog replies you can have my food.
Anticorps says I feel like you're so used to being treated as subhuman by everyone in your life that you don't know how to handle it when someone approaches you, listens to you, and responds with unconditional care. You expect there to be some kind of catch. You've never felt the kind of love you deserve, so you don't know how to respond to it. Roughly quoted from a friend that was, and still is, a prominent father figure to me. I frequently apologized for bothering him with my issues or venting out of the blue because I didn't want to bring him down, and he dropped that bombshell as he was reassuring me. Really, he's not wrong. I've had girlfriends, best friends, a big loving family, but my closest friends treated me as if I was lesser than them. My girlfriends were either not serious, or downright abusive towards me. My family can basically never know personal information about me because a lot of my major beliefs clash with theirs. Every relationship in my life, while I value them immensely, has always had a catch, and I'd never felt like someone has truly just listened to, respected, and loved me with all their heart. He's a remarkable man. Thanks to him, I'm a much better person than I would have been had I dealt with all I was dealing with without a role model helping me channel that energy with love and positivity. And thanks to him showing me how to be a good friend, I was able to mend a very, very hurt relationship. I chalk having my best friend up to him helping me see what it means to support somebody, and express my appreciation for them openly and often. It honestly completely changed the way I treated personal relationships, and I thank him every day for it. Edit. I definitely didn't expect this one to blow up. I'm sorry to hear so many people can relate to this. You all deserve to have people who love you and care about you unconditionally. You deserve to be heard and you deserve to recover from whatever others have done to you. There are good ones out there. They're hard to find, but you will find them, and they're worth the wait.
Talish Pickle says I was 15F, and my then friend who I also dated for a bit, 15M, said two things on two separate occasions. 1. We had just finished a lesson at school, and in the excitement of being free I did a spin, arms out, with this huge smile on my face. Don't do that, it makes you look really unattractive. 2. Talking about what we liked to do on weekends. I talked about how my family and I love to go on long hikes in the country. Oh? Then why are you so fat? At the time I was a little overweight, but not huge. It crushed me on both occasions. Being a teenage girl is hard enough without having a twant for a friend. I'm 29 now, so I have the benefit of hindsight, but he was vile sometimes. NX200B, edit. Thank you, everyone. I'm keeping every message below for when I'm having a shit day. As far as I'm aware, he's now a responsible adult. We didn't really stay in touch. Send Boobs says, what up? I got a new phone and went out of state for the weekend on the same day. I tried to activate the new phone but they wouldn't let me until I was back in my home state. On the drive home, one of my friends called my brother, who I was with, to get a hold of me and tell me our other friend committed suicide. Later that day I got my new phone activated and got a text from the friend that committed suicide that just said, what up? He must be sent it not long before he killed himself, not knowing I couldn't text back. I can't imagine how alone he must be felt. I know it sounds conceited, but I can't help but think if I was able to talk to him, maybe he wouldn't have done it. Edit. I really hate when people do these, but I now somewhat understand why. There's no way I can respond to everybody, but I'll try because I think it matters. Also, really wish I didn't use my porn account for this post.
Ovaltine Spice says it's not exactly earth-shaking, but I never understood playing games with cheats. From time to time I'd use them, but I had friends who barely play a game without using cheats. Out of the blue, years after I was big into gaming, I visited a friend who was playing GTA IV. She was playing with cheats and I asked her why. She says, all day I have to deal with consequences, this is the one time I don't have to. It completely 180 my viewpoint. I've never had so much make sense, change my opinion, by one simple sentence. She suffers with depression, so for me, it ran a lot deeper than just playing games. It made me think twice about questioning the things people enjoy or how they live their lives. I never thought something so trivial could hold such poignance.
Fraser 271,009 says never grow up, just learn to be an adult. Thanks Dad.
XD Hotdog replies that sounds like good advice.
Swarmbot says we all find you annoying. Since then, I've always been the quiet kid. Edit. Thank you kind internet people for the medals.
Aileen Kushbitch says being good to people won't make them good to you. Edit. I didn't expect for this comment to blow up or get silver. Thanks so much guys. I'd like to add to my comment. Though being good to others leaves you vulnerable to being taken advantage of, doesn't mean it's not worth giving certain people the benefit of the doubt. Do not let the lack of reciprocation discourage you from displaying kindness towards one another. We are humanity and we have each other. The day is always brighter when you radiate kindness.
USHIBIBI says your parents may be terrible people, but you are the best of both of them.
Ninth Nine Wonder says hit hard both on each side of the situation. Then girlfriend, as we were breaking up, admitted she was nervous about doing it herself because she was worried I'd kill myself. I said I felt the same way vice versa. And I still hear that conversation in my head. Edit. Bit of a cliche, but thank you for the silver. First one. I appreciate the kindness that's been shown in the comments. XD Hotdog replies, well, I hope you are doing okay now.
Goobsmack says when you find someone better, please just let me down gently.
XD Hotdog replies, aw, that sounds like she has low self-esteem.
MDL 1994 says I don't think you're smart enough for this, said my dad in my first week of university. I told him I liked a challenge. Now I have my master's degree and I'm working full-time. At my graduation he told me he was really proud of me and only said it because he knew it would make me work harder to prove him wrong.
Melted Butterfly says please save me. Friend was having a mental breakdown, and that was the last thing he said to me before completely falling apart for a few hours. I tried my best buddy. Been trying this whole time. Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. I hope life treats you well in return.
Alpin0th03 says after I accidentally dropped my drink and it soaked my dad's guitar and amp, I immediately freaked out because I was about 5'6" and thought I broke his stuff. He looked at me and said, son, they're just things, look, and snapped one of his CDs. They're just things. I think that's the moment I learned to value relationships over possessions.
Mean Cup of Joe says my father had been diagnosed with cancer a month after he retired, and as Frank Turner said his weather forecast wasn't looking too good. I had 4 kids age 12 and under and was trying to get a new business off the ground, and didn't have much time to see him. One Saturday, my sister and mother, who had been providing the bulk of the caregiving, asked me to come for a few hours so they could do some shopping and clear their heads a bit. I spent the afternoon and told him I was sorry I hadn't been to see him much. He told me your wife and daughters are your family now, and they have to come first. Any time you have for me is appreciated, but never felt bad about making your family the priority. And X200B, I've carried that with me over the past 14 years, and I always fall back on that when there are conflicts for my time and attention.
Festivary2 says no one gives a shit about you by my psychiatrist. Now hold on a sec. He meant and explained it as, in life there are very few people who will be there for you all the time, and drop everything. No one cares about what you're doing because everyone is selfish. That's just how life is. Do what you want to do, because it's your life. I don't know why, but it was the most comforting backhanded advice I've ever gotten. Thanks Dr. Murphy.
4Horseaway says I have some ugly ass toes and at the time I wore Birkenstocks when somebody said that my toes were disgusting and shouldn't wear my sandals. My toes have not been seen in public since then, about 20 years ago. Edit. Thanks for the great comments. Started off as ingrown toenails, the sides nearly touched, then fungus since I wasn't airing them out on the daily. Fast forward 20 years, recovering from a recent illness that made matters worse. It's taken about a year or so for the Ike to grow out and plan to have them finally repaired.
Do not touch my food says you were his only true love. My mom said that after my father died, I don't even visited him at the hospital.
Scattered Thoughts 123 says a friend asked if I knew my boyfriend, now husband, was out of my league. This was many years ago, but since then I have been very aware that I am lucky that my husband even considered to look at me twice, never mind marry me. Makes me grateful. but I have cripplingly low self-esteem about the way I look or come across to others. Catherine says my dad told me that I cared more about what random strangers thought than making my close friends and family happy.
Anna Nerve says I've been going through a rough patch lately. Last night was a friend's birthday dinner that I was invited to where I don't know anyone. I figured I would stay for a drink and excuse myself. His friends are kind of snobs and very elitist. If you aren't some supermodel millionaire they won't look at you. I was nervous and at one point a guy came up to me and said, "You don't belong here, you don't dress like them, act like them, or talk like them. That's what I like about you." And that meant a lot to me because I wanted to be accepted in the in-group because I've been feeling shitty and thought it would make me feel better. But that comment made me very emotional, so to Dylan at the party, thank you a lot.
Gruthud. Thrak says that I'm an asshole and I should stop pretending to be nice. Sometimes I honestly feel like I've never done something truly nice because everything nice I have done was only in an attempt to better how I was perceived by others on myself. So it wasn't done with good intentions and therefore not good.
Commander_Shepard_ says these people, these managers and these directors and all those other co-workers who are marginally above you, they don't give a flat fucking shit about you. Protecting you is not in their interests. The only things they are protecting are the company, because that keeps the paychecks coming, and if they have to choose you over their bills, then they will fuck you every single time. So don't ever trust them, no matter how much they sound like they are going to bat for you, no matter how fucking sincere those bastards seem like they are being. It was my coworker Matt, before he quit his job when we worked together as an insurance adjuster. Made me really open my eyes and realize how people behave at offices and see through corporate bullshit.
Tiger Pioneer says I've been called many not so nice things by my dad and also told that he gave up on me in a fit of rage. I'd like to believe he doesn't mean it, but some things stay with you.
Shit, just Gadriel says if you only just had a decent face, I would date you. The best friend of my ex-boyfriend also said to him, "Why would you be with her? Did you ever even look at her? I could hook you up with someone actually your league." I pretty much isolated myself all my life because I'm always told that I'm ugly. I'm 20 now and apparently my face is way too repulsive to socialize. Edit. Oh gosh, you are all so damn sweet. Thank you so much for these kind words. I want everyone who replied to me to know that I am working on my issues for a few months now with the help of a therapist and a few close friends, and it's going pretty well. I cut all those people out of my life a few years ago. Also thank you so much for the award. I'm really overwhelmed with all this love my comment gets and really grateful.
Roxanne Soxas says why is it only the ugly, fat girls who like me? Stupid high school boy after he found out I had a crush on him. Fuck you, Mike.
Dilatus Fetus says focus on school but once it's over don't forget to be a kid. My tia told me this and it stuck with me.
Starry Eyes 8194 says I feel bad for my mom. She does a lot for the family and today she's been having a bad day. She has to multitask a lot, like take care of the baby and make dinner with barely any sleep. It hurts to see my mom, one of the hardest working people in the world, in my world at least, struggle. He didn't say it to me, but my 13-year-old son posted this about me on social media. I didn't even see it until my sister forwarded it to me. It was so nice to realize that my kids know how hard I work for them. Sometimes, it doesn't always feel like they appreciate it.
Shipguy55 says I am going to punch y'all and they hit me.
XD Hotdog replies, did it hit you hard though?
Rasu says I mentioned to my dad once that I think I should get a cat and he said something to the effect of why? So you can torture it?
XD Hotdog replies, well, did you get a cat?
Behape says in high school someone told me, stop talking about killing yourself and do it already. We don't care, no one will miss you. That wasn't the part that hurt. What hurt was her friends laughing immediately afterward.
XD Hotdog replies, ouch, well you should got them by not killing yourself. Good job.
Corrosive Moon says be the person you needed when you were younger.
Hyper-Incarnate says some people you meet in life are there to teach you shit and to move along. That one of the last things my ex said to me. Sometimes I wish she wasn't right.
Dawscott Session says best. Do you hear that? It was the sound of my baby's heartbeat on the Doppler when I was 8 weeks pregnant. It was the biggest, loudest, strongest heartbeat ever. Worst, well, we'd like to do some further testing. I went into a pediatric neurology appointment thinking my baby's pediatrician was being ridiculous. 3 months later she was diagnosed with a severe genetic condition.
Kill me, I says. Our relationship meant nothing to me. My relationship with the girl he was cheating on me with for 6 months of our 3-year relationship is the one I want to continue and the one that means something to me. I love her. I don't love you. Edit. This happened 3 days ago. First relationship. He told me he was going to marry me and made me believe it. So now that we broke up, my future that I once thought I had is gone. I'm glad I didn't marry him though. He was emotionally abusing me. He's staying together with the side chick. Life's a bee. Unhappy Bajal says a few years back, I went into a kindergarten class to help my mother, the teacher, out with whatever she was doing. When I sat down for a bit of a break, the kid next to me was coloring the kid sitting across from him. The kid he was drawing was black, so he used a black crayon. This kid said one of the most useful things I've ever heard someone say. I'm brown, not black, you stupid peach. Cracked me the fuck up.
Dead Thoma 5 says, hey, look at that high-waisted man. He got feminine hips.
Omeo says, if you don't change you will end up alone in a house with 10 cats. Edit 1. It's not a bad thing for most of us, but the people who said it were so mean and that my young self felt kinda bad for some reason. Cats are awesome, but they just said it in a very rude way. And LT3
XD Hotdog replies, judging by your username, that wouldn't seem to bother you.
Epic Pinku says, I don't know if I still love you that well. Looking back I'm convinced he never really did anyway.
Lights Out 0980 says, YA, no, it doesn't matter to me whether you're gay, straight, bi, pan, it just doesn't. I wasn't raised to be judgmental, and I didn't raise you to be someone who was either. I raised you the best I could, and if you're happy then I've done my job. I'm not gonna be around forever, and I'll be damned if I let your happiness be dictated by me after I'm gone. That's why I'm letting you know I love you now. I don't care who you love, as long as you're happy. Happy while I'm here and happy after I'm gone. I love you, son. The text I got from my dad after I told him I was bisexual. He wasn't upset when I told him, he simply felt he needed to tell me this, and I'll always have that screenshot in my phone as a reminder that I have a lot to be thankful for.
Dockencall says, I had a girl at a bar tell me that I shouldn't even be able to speak with people like her. That I would die all alone because no one would ever love me, and it should be better if I just killed myself to save everyone else from having to deal with me. I'm still alone. Edit. Wow. Thanks guys, but I'm doing okay now. This was several years ago and it hit me at the time but not bothering me anymore.
XD Hotdog replies, fuck her. Be happy with yourself. People like that.
Themad1 Max says, I eat because I'm unhappy because I eat. It's a vicious cycle.
OSINNYCAKES69 says, I've fallen out of love with you, husband, last night.